Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Bexar County Court at Law, number 6 on the Bexar County Veterans Treatment Court. Today is plea docket day, and it is Thursday, the 27th of January, 2022. The cases I have set today are for pleas 639-205, State of Texas versus Juventino Barraza Medina, represented by Mr. Mick Aguilera. Mr. Aguilera, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, we are.
Thank you. Cause number 659-673, State of Texas versus Angel Corona, represented by Ms. Valerie Headland. Ms. Headland, are you ready to proceed?
Your Honor, I'm trying to find my client, and he did all the paperwork yesterday. I sent him the Zoom link, and his mailbox is saying full.
Well, why don't you continue your search party and let us know how that works out for you. And if you show up today, we'll be happy to take your plea. And if it has to be some other time, then that's the way it is. So thanks for your help. And
okay, do you want me to just log off and then log back in if I find it?
Whatever. Sure, that's great.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thanks. And cause number 670749, State of Texas versus Jaime Ramirez, represented by Mr. Kirby Wayland. Mr. Wayland, are you ready to proceed?
Ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cause number 665349, State of Texas versus Gilbert Rosales, represented by Mr. Michael Sawyer. Mr. Sawyer, are you ready to proceed?
Your Honor, Mr. Sawyer is in felony court, and Mr. Rosales has not shown up yet. I have notified his people.
Okay, so we're missing both Mr. Rosales and Mr. Sawyer, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thanks. Cause number 670297, State of Texas versus Javier Casas, represented by Mr. Frank Sandoval. Mr. Sandoval, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cause number 668639, State of Texas versus Asifa Mir Daredia, represented by Mr. Shannon Locke. Mr. Locke, are you ready to proceed?
We're ready, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cause number 647317, State of Texas versus Jose Muniz, represented by Mr. Ed Bravanek. Mr. Bravanek, are you ready to proceed?
Your Honor, Mr. Muniz is on, and it is my understanding Mr. Bravanek contacted Mr. Varial, RADA, asking for the link. So I'm assuming that he will be trying to get on, Your Honor.
Okay. And we have one motion to revoke community supervision, State of Texas versus Chase Berry, cause 658980, represented by Mr. Gary Barton. Mr. Barton, are you ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor. Thank you for taking the time to add us.
Thank you. Let's take up the Spanish-speaking Mr. Barraza Medina plea first, then we'll do the MTR, and then we'll do the rest of the pleas. So at this time, this is cause number 639205, State of Texas versus Juventino Barraza Medina. And before I forget, representing the state, Mr. Eddie Villarreal, representing the Bexar County CSCD, Ms. Susan Gross, who I will swear at this time. Ms. Gross, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Barraza Medina and Mr. Aguilera. The first document I'm looking at in cause 639205 is a document entitled Defendant's Consent to Plea by Video Conference. This document is in English, but purports to have both Mr. Barraza Medina's signature and Mr. Aguilera's signature as attorney. In fact, Mr. Barraza Medina, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Sí. CC6.
Thank you. And Mr. Aguilera, as attorney for Mr. Barraza Medina, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. The next document I'm looking at is entitled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions, that purports to have Mr. Barraza Medina's signature on it, effectively waiving certain constitutional rights he must waive in order to enter a plea before this court. In fact, Mr. Barraza Medina, is this your signature on this document also, sir?
Sí.
Thank you. And this document is in English, but Mr. Aguilera, I assume you have gone over this document fully with Mr. Barraza Medina, so he knows what he's signing?
Yes, Your Honor. And there's also, we had a copy in Spanish also.
Okay, I don't have a copy in Spanish in front of me, but if it's out there, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Mr. Barraza Medina, did you sign this document both in English and in Spanish? So they're two separate documents. Each one has your signature. Is that correct, sir?
Sí.
Thank you. And Mr. Aguilera, oh, you're not needed on this document. Thanks for being here, though. All right. So, Mr. Barraza Medina, by signing this document, are you telling me that you've had enough time to either read this document or have it read to you in its entirety? If you had any questions about what was on this document, those questions were answered to your satisfaction by your attorney, Mr. Aguilera, so that in signing this document, you're telling me that you agree with and understand everything on this document. Is that correct, Mr. Barraza Medina?
Sí.
Thank you. Mr. Aguilera, have you had enough time to go over this case with Mr. Barraza Medina? And in your opinion, is he mentally competent?
That would be my opinion. Yes, Judge.
Mr. Barraza Medina, are you a United States citizen, sir?
No.
Mr. Barraza Medina, if you are not a citizen of the United States of America, a plea of guilty or nolo contendere for the offense charged may result in your deportation, your exclusion from admission to this country, or the denial of naturalization under federal law. Mr. Barraza Medina, have you discussed with your attorney and been made aware of the mentioned consequences? And are you still now knowingly wanting to enter a plea to this offense?
Sí.
Thank you. Mr. Aguilera, as attorney for Mr. Barraza Medina, have you had the ability to discuss with him the possible problems he may encounter with regard to entering a plea to this crime with regard to his immigration status?
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
And after your discussion with him, did he indicate to you he wanted to go forward with a plea bargain with the state at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Aguilera, as attorney for Mr. Barraza Medina, has the state fully complied with discovery for you on this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And let's see, Mr. Barraza Medina, to the charge of driving while intoxicated, first offense. How do you plead, sir?
No me opongo.
Is there an agreement for Mr. Barraza Medina, please?
Yes, Judge, the agreement is for 12 months, deferred adjudication, an $850 fine, court costs, 48 hours of community service, DWI education, victim impact panel, CatSnip, Smart Start Mobile for half the term, and $60 to DPS for a lab.
And Mr. Aguilera, is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, that's our understanding of the agreement, and we'd just like to be heard about possible ways of doing the community service.
I'll tell you our standard community service options are he can do it realistically anywhere that there's a community service need through his probation officer, or he can donate $10 an hour to a court charity, primarily Special Operations Wounded Warrior Organization and family violence prevention organizations, those sorts of things. Are there any other questions in that regard?
You answered my question perfectly, Judge.
No.
All right, thanks.
His officer will give him a list if he requests one.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Barraza Medina, in cause number 639205, the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of driving while intoxicated, first offense. Although I have enough evidence to find you guilty, I'm going to withhold a finding of guilt, place you on 1 year, deferred adjudication probation, assess an $850 fine plus court costs, 48 hours community service, DWI education, DWI victim impact panel, Community Alliance for Traffic Safety new intervention program, Smart Start Mobile home interlock at 4 blows a day for 6 months, which is 1/2 the term of probation, and reimbursement of $60 to the Texas Department of Public Safety for a lab fee. Anything further from the state of the defense on Mr. Barraza Medina?
Nothing from the state, Judge.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
Good luck, Mr. Barraza Medina. Thank you, Mr. Aguilera. You all are dismissed, and our interpreter is dismissed also. Thank you so much for your help.
I guess probation will be in contact with Juventino.
Susan?
Susan, all right now then. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yes, he should be receiving some contact from the probation department within the next, did he go away already? I think he did. Okay. by Tuesday afternoon. If he is not, he needs to call 210
Okay,
335 7446 and let them know that he needs an orientation appointment. And if he has problems, he can reach out to either his attorney or the court and get in touch with
Okay.
myself, and we'll get him all set up. Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Ok,
Okay.
alguien te iba a hablar antes de.
Okay, Mr. Barraza Medina, you and Mr. Aguilera are dismissed. Ms. Narrow, thank you for your help. You're dismissed. Okay, next case we have is called 658-980, State of Texas versus Chase Berry. This is a motion to revoke community supervision.
La oficina de.
And anybody I'm not specifically talking to, please turn your microphone off because we're getting background noise. And first document I'm looking at on this case is entitled Defendant's Consent to Motion to Revoke Hearing by Video Conference. In fact, Mr. Berry, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Barton, as attorney for Mr. Berry, is this your signature on this document also, sir?
It is, Judge.
Thank you. The next document I'm looking at is entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, which is marked, quote, is a revocation of the defendant's community supervision, and the defendant has a right to appeal the court's actions revoking the community supervision, but not the underlying conviction, unquote. In fact, Mr. Berry, is this your signature on this document also, sir?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Barton, as attorney for Mr. Berry, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Barton, my understanding is this is an uncontested motion to revoke community supervision. Is that correct?
That's where we're at, Judge. It took me a little bit to catch up on the procedural history on this, as you're aware.
Sure.
It's kind of blind on my end because I can't see the entries. And so my understanding is that he's still on deferred adjudication for an unlawful carrying of a weapon. Is that what we're here on today as far as you're
That's
concerned,
not my
Judge?
understanding. Ms. Gross, what's the status of Mr. Berry's probation at this time?
No, Mr. Berry's deferred adjudication was revoked on December 1st, 2021, and he was placed on regular probation for a period of, it looks like, 1 year.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely helps clarify where we're at. I appreciate that.
Yes, and he has an underlying sentence of 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So that being said, let's see. Mr. Berry, in cause number 658-980 on the motion to revoke community supervision, how do you plead, sir?
Guilty.
Normally it's either true or not true, or true with an explanation or not true with an explanation.
True with an explanation, Judge.
Fair enough. Court accepts the plea of true with an explanation. Ms. Gross, would you please advise the court and the parties of the status of Mr. Berry's probation? I remind you, you're still under oath.
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, Xavier, you need to mute your audio, please. Thank you. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Berry's reporting has been good. We saw him on December the 7th. He has not made any payments towards his fees. And at this time, he is delinquent. Sorry, I didn't update this morning. He is delinquent $45 and has a balance of $1,125. He has completed all 48 hours community service as he was given credit from his deferred. He has completed a firearms safety course while he was on deferred. We have no proof of enrollment or completion of the CATS intensive outpatient program. He was to be on weekly UAs since being placed on probation. He did submit 3. 1 was negative, 2 were diluted, and he's failed to submit the last 3. This is his first violation report, first MTR on this one. And as I stated earlier, this is a reform judgment from December 1st, 2021, where he was taken off of deferred and put on regular probation. He has no criminal history, and his officer is recommending weekly UAs continue on the call-in line for 60 days or revocation.
Okay, and the last urinalysis test we have on Mr. Berry was dated what, 12/21? Does that make sense?
I'm showing that his last one was on 12/28 and it was negative. And then he has failed to do the 3 that were assigned via the call-in line. And I can give you those dates if you would like.
Go ahead.
He was supposed to provide a sample on January 12th, January 20th, and January 26th.
Okay, I got it. Mr. Barton, what are you requesting?
Your Honor, obviously at this juncture, we request to follow probation's recommendation of weekly UAs. I can provide a little bit of an explanation. The court would like to hear it on a few of these matters. As far as the fines and fees are concerned, Judge, we have gotten our client up to speed on everything. He can pay those off in its entirety today and get square with the court regarding that matter. As far as the UAs are concerned, Judge, as you heard from probation, the last one was negative. The 2 subsequently since then, I don't know if they were before or after, that were diluted. He was in the process of gaining full employment, for which he did provide a urine sample to that employer, which was one of the diluted ones that they mentioned here. He provided that sample the next day and it came out negative for the employer. He hence got the job despite his injurious appearance today. Judge, he is fully employed right now. We would ask the court to take into consideration his lack of criminal history. Basically, overall, Judge, he is trying to get his life in order. With my help and my firm's help, I do believe we can get him on the right path going forward. And we just ask the court to follow that recommendation and keep him on probation to where we have these weekly UAs and not revoke him.
Okay, Ms. Gross, I've got a confusion question going on with the court summary I was provided may or may not have been the first court summary for the first MTR, but the recommendations I'm looking at, it says amend for 2 months of weekly UAs and it says revoke. So I don't understand why it says both continue and revoke at the same time. Is this an old court summary? Is there a newer court summary somewhere?
No, Your Honor, that is the current one. And they are recommending that he be placed on weekly UAs for an additional 60 days. However, they would not oppose revocation should the court choose revocation.
I got you. State recommendation.
Your Honor, the state recommends revocation.
Mr. Berry, my problem with you is we had the same issues with you before on the first MTR, and you're coming back and you're doing it again. My assumption is you've got a marijuana problem in there somewhere and you're trying to hide it, which is not working. Mr. Barton, you want to comment on that? That's basically where I see our problem lying mostly.
Absolutely, Judge. I'd like to comment on that. And we're not in the process of trying to hide anything from the court. Yes, in previous matters, I think he did have a dirty UA a long, long time ago where marijuana was involved. And like I said, Judge, since he's become a client of ours, which is just recently in the last 3 weeks, we've been able to steer him in the right direction and get his life back in order. And we just ask that you take that into consideration and do everything we possibly can to continue with this path without putting him in jail over this.
I'm looking at Mr. Berry on my picture. You have a broken arm or some sort of arm injury, Mr. Berry? What's going on with your arm with a sling?
A coworker dropped a steel beam on me at Home Depot.
Could have been worse, it sounded like. Sorry that happened.
But he is working, Judge.
All right, Mr. Berry, I don't think you and I are looking at the same set of facts. Here's what my understanding of what probation is telling us. Mr. Berry had the last clean UA on 12/21/2021. Is that right, Susan?
I think Susan said it was 12/28 a second
I'm-
ago.
Oh, 12/28, I'm sorry, 12/28/2021. That's the last negative UA we have on Mr. Berry. Is that correct, Susan?
Okay, I just went to the website that records all of the UAs, and it looks like he did provide a sample on January 4th that was negative.
Okay.
Okay, and then since January 4th, as today is January 27th, he's been on weekly UA supposedly, has he not?
Correct, and it looks like he was supposed to do a UA January 12th, 20, and 26th, and he did not report for those drug tests.
Okay, Mr. Barton, that's part of my problem. Have you got an explanation or a
Well, absolutely, Judge. I believe the
mitigation
warrant-
on that?
Yeah, I believe the warrant went active shortly after the January 4th, 21. And so obviously he felt as though if he was going to show up, he's been taken into custody. And at this point, we'd rather go before the judge and get this matter heard as opposed to him getting taken into custody and remanded without bond. And so we're here before the court today to try and do everything we possibly can to keep him out, Judge.
Okay, I'm ready to rule. You got anything further, Mr. Barton?
I do not, Judge.
Mr. Berry, in cause 658-980, the court accepts your plea of true with an explanation. I grant the state's motion to revoke your probation. I sentence you to 90 days in the Bexar County Jail, assess $1,000 fine plus court costs, credit for time served, time and money to run concurrent. You're to report to the Bexar County Jail at 9:00 a.m. on Monday, December 31st, 2022, to serve your sentence, recalling all pretrial services, bond conditions, and previous warrants. Anything further from the state of the defense on Mr. Berry?
Nothing from
Judge,
the
can you
state.
read out those dates again?
I would just remind Mr. Berry that Mr. Barton has made a difference in that he's attempted to get Mr. Berry to get in line, and you just, you can't do it for him. He's got to do it himself. And Mr. Berry's had every chance in the world. We took away his deferred and we still left him on probation. He's doing exactly the same things and not giving us UAs. And I'm sorry it's that way, but I'm just running out of options. But I had a year in the Bexar County Jail, hammer hanging over his head. And instead I gave him 90 days. So in my mind, that's a defense win, but Mr. Berry still has to pay the price. So it is what it is. Yeah.
If I may, I believe you said December 31st.
January, I'm sorry,
January.
January 31st. I apologize. Monday, this coming Monday.
Thank you.
Anything further from the state of the defense on Mr. Berry?
Not at this time, Judge.
Good luck, Mr. Berry. You bet. And thank you, Mr. Barton. You all are excused.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, I'm gonna take 2 minutes so I can organize my burst of pleas here. Stand by.
Mr. Brovanek, did you read my chat? I think we lost him.
Yeah, so I tried to send one back. I'm sorry if it didn't come through. That's absolutely fine. Just
Well,
send
you
me
need to
one.
tell the judge and
Okay.
what happened. I'd appreciate if you do that. While you're doing that, I'm going to send the paperwork, okay, to the correct one, because I used what the directory gave us from court admin, so change it.
Yeah, no blame to you. I don't know how this got in there, and it's about the third time it's happened in a row. So I'll take care of it, but let me let the judge know what occurred, okay?
Yeah, let him know. And he tried real hard to stay on, and he said he was going to try to walk home and try to see if he could make it. And it looks like he didn't. He literally slipped off. So if you
Right. Let me. Do I wait for him to call it, or should I just?
do you want his email address? I'll put it in the chat, and you can try to
Yeah, I'll email him. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
And Pat, I'm sorry, I didn't see your chats right away.
That's okay. That's all right. Hey,
I'm getting older and I'm not used to
Everybody's
stuff, so
busy. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got 20,000 things going on. I understand. And I just gave you the email address, so.
Okay, and how do you, so that's
Yes.
his email. How do you want me to handle his
Well,
honor?
I would just inform him that your client was on, however, that he's lost the battery and he's trying to make it home. But he's requesting a reset for next week. That'll give him time. I don't know how far he is away from home, how long it would take him or what, so.
Well, and I got a 4-month-old kid. I really can't wait for another hour. But I guess my point is, am I allowed to at the very beginning say, hey, Judge, I need to
You can
request.
tell him right now.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm sorry. Are you on? Can you hear me?
You're muted.
I think so. I can hear you fine.
So Judge, I have a client who, Mr. Muniz, who was on and told Pat, I'm about to lose power. I'm trying to go home. And he wants to do a plea. And then it appears he lost power. I mean, it seemed like he was doing his best to get the plea done today. Would you be willing to reset him to next week because he was literally walking home?
Sure. If you hear from him again today before, I don't know, 4 o'clock, you might give us a call and see if we're still doing this, and you can come back on and do it today. Otherwise, next Thursday at 2. Pat, will that work? Is that okay with you, Ed?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll be here at 2 next Thursday. And I appreciate it. I'm sorry, but
Not a problem. Not your fault. Not your
well,
fault.
they do happen. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care. All right. Ms. Hedlund, did you find Mr. Corona?
Yes, sir. He's here.
Hot dog. Here we go.
Yes, we're ready.
And did we hear from Mr. Sawyer on Mr. Rosales?
Hold on, Your Honor. Not yet.
Okay.
Mr. Rosales is on. We're just waiting for Mr. Sawyer.
All right. So at this time, batting order is cause number 659673, State of Texas versus Angele Corona, represented by Ms. Valerie Hedlund. Cause number 670749, State of Texas versus Jaime Ramirez, represented by Mr. Kirby Wayland. Cause number 670297, State of Texas versus Javier E. Casas, represented by Mr. Frank Sandoval. And cause number 668639, State of Texas versus Asif Amir Daredia, represented by Mr. Shannon Locke. So, ladies and gentlemen, the first document I am looking at on all these cases is entitled Defendant's Consent to Plea by Video Conference, which purports to have both the defendant's signature and the attorney's signature on it. Mr. Corona, and cause 659673, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Unmute yourself, love.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And Ms. Hedlund, as attorney for Mr. Corona, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Ramirez, in cause 670749, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And Mr. Wayland, as attorney for Mr. Ramirez, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Mr. Casas, in cause 670297, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And Mr. Sandoval, as attorney for Mr. Casas, is this also your signature on this document?
It is, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Daredia, in cause 668639, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Locke, as attorney for Mr. Daredia, is this also your signature on this document?
It is, Your Honor.
Thank you. The next document I'm looking at is entitled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions, that purports to have your signatures on the back, effectively waiving certain constitutional rights you must waive in order to enter a plea before this court. In fact, Mr. Corona, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And Mr. Ramirez, is this also your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And Mr. Casas, is this also your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Daredia, is this also your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. By signing this document, are each of you telling me that you've had enough time to either read this document or have it read to you in its entirety? If you had any questions about what was on this document, those questions were answered to your satisfaction by your attorney, so that in signing this document, you're telling me that you agree with and understand everything on this document. Is that correct, Mr. Corona?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is that correct, Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is that correct, Mr. Casas?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is that correct, Mr. Daredia?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Hedlund, as attorney for Mr. Corona, have you had enough time to go over this case with him? And in your opinion, is he mentally competent?
I have, and he is.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Wayland, as attorney for Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, and he is.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Sandoval, the attorney for Mr. Casas.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Locke, as attorney for Mr. Duridia.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Corona, are you a United States citizen, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Casas.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Duridia.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Headland, as attorney for Mr. Corona, the state fully comply with discovery for you on this case.
They have.
Same question for Mr. Wayland, as attorney for Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Sandoval, the attorney for Mr. Casas.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Locke, as attorney for Mr. Duridia.
They have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, let's see what we're doing with Mr. Corona. Mr. Corona, on call 659-673 to the charge of evading arrest or detention. How do you plead, sir?
No contest.
Is there an agreement for Mr. Corona?
Yes, Judge. The agreement is for 164 days in the Bexar County Jail, $0 fine, court costs, credit for time served, time and money to run concurrent. If it pleases the court, we ask that this judgment be satisfied.
And Ms. Headland, is that your understanding of the agreement?
It is.
Okay, my question would be, why are we worried about 100? Oh, well, that's what he's got in jail. Never mind.
Yes, sir.
There's not an immigration issue. I thought 364. No, that's different. Okay, Mr. Corona, on call 659-673, the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of evading arrest or detention. I find you guilty. I assess 164 days in the Bexar County Jail of $0 fine plus court costs, credit for time served, time and money to run concurrent. Judgment satisfied. Anything further from the state or the defense on Mr. Corona?
No,
Nothing
sir.
from the state.
Good luck, Mr. Corona. Thank you, Ms. Headland.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Y'all are out of here.
You're all good, Angel.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, let's see what we're doing with Mr. Ramirez.
Judge, may I give my spiel real quick before
Sure.
you continue?
Absolutely.
All right, if anyone expects to be placed on probation today, if you currently reside outside of Bexar County or the state of Texas, or you intend on moving outside of Bexar County or the state of Texas, before you make your plea, you need to let the judge know. Also, for anyone placed on probation today, you will be contacted by probation, most likely via email, and they will be setting up an orientation date for you. If you have not heard from them by the time you wake up Wednesday morning, Ms. Benavides has put a phone number in the chat. You need to write that down. It is 210-335-7446. You need to call that phone number and let them know that you need an orientation date. It is your responsibility to make sure that you sign these documents. If not, warrant will be issued for your arrest and you're going to be right back here. Does anyone have any questions? Is anyone residing or living outside of Texas?
No, ma'am.
Awesome. Good luck to you all. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, back on the record on call 670749, State of Texas versus Jaime Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez to the charge of criminal trespass on private property. How do you plead, sir?
No contest.
Is there an agreement for Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, Judge. The agreement is for 180 days in the Bexar County Jail, probated for 6 months, a $300 fine, court costs, 24 hours of community service, and a no contact order with Burke's Outlet.
Do we have an address on Burke's Outlet, or is that a store of some kind, I'm guessing?
Yes, Judge, it is a store. If you give me a moment, I can find the address.
Go ahead and see if you can track it down. That would make it better.
Yes, sir. Okay, Judge.
Yep.
The address is 4522 Fredericksburg Road, San Antonio, Texas, 78201.
Okay, and Mr. Wayland, is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Ramirez, the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of criminal trespass on private property. I find you guilty. I said 6 months in the Bexar County Jail, probated for 6 months, a $300 fine plus court cost, 24 hours community service, or do you have no contact with Burke's Outlet at 4522 Fredericksburg Road, San Antonio, Texas, 78201? Anything further from the state of the defense of Mr. Ramirez?
Nothing from the state, Judge.
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wayland, and good luck, Mr. Ramirez. Y'all are dismissed.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Casas, in cause 670-297 to the charge of discharging a firearm in a city with a municipal population greater than 100,000 people. How do you plead, sir?
No contest.
And state, is there an agreement in this case?
Yes, Judge, there is. It's for 1 year deferred adjudication, $450 fine, court costs, 80 hours of community service, a motion to forfeit the weapon to defense counsel, and APSE.
From the state perspective, what happened in this case?
Your Honor, if you give me a moment, I can pull up the facts. Just give me 1 second.
Let me try again. From the defense perspective, Mr. Sandoval, what happened in this case? What are we shooting at?
Okay, Judge, I have the facts here if you'd like.
All right, go ahead, state.
So the defendant was near a school and fired off a shotgun. And so the people at the school, SAISD officers, were dispatched because of the gunshot report. And so it was across the school, across the street from the school. And so that's how they arrested him.
Okay. Mr. Sandoval, does that sound more or less accurate?
You're on mute, Mr. Sandoval.
Is Mr. Sandoval still with us?
Sorry, Your Honor. I didn't realize I was on mute. I apologize, Judge.
Not a problem. Does that sound like a fact situation that more or less accurate?
Yes, Your Honor. And my being on mute saved you from my being as incomprehensible as I am now. So yes, Judge.
And are we shooting in the air? Are we shooting in the ground? What do we shoot? Where are we shooting? I guess we're not shooting at anything. We're just sort of shooting to make noise.
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. It was just an unfortunate accident, not accident.
All right, and I guess this weapon is being forfeited to you. Do I have your word? It will not be returned to the defendant, his family, or his friend.
Yes, Judge.
All right, we're good. And is that your understanding of the agreement?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Casas, in cause 670-297, the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of discharging a firearm in a community, in a municipality with a population greater than 100,000 people. Although I have enough evidence to find you guilty, I'm going to withhold a finding of guilt, place you on 1 year deferred adjudication probation. It says a $450 fine plus court costs, 80 hours community service, order the weapon forfeited to the defense counsel, not to be returned to the defendant, his family, or his friends, and the APSE stress management course. Anything further from the state of the defense of Mr. Casas?
Nothing from the state, Judge.
Not on behalf of Mr. Casas, Your Honor.
All right, good luck, Mr. Casas, and thank you, Mr. Sandoval. You all are dismissed.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's see what we're doing, Mr. Duridia. And this is not being reduced to stay the DWI second. Is that correct, Shannon?
It is being reduced, Your Honor.
Oh, yeah, all right. State, you got a motion?
Yes, Your Honor. The motion is to reduce, to waive the second enhancement and proceed on DWI first.
Objection from the defense, that will be granted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Therefore, Mr. Duridia, clause 668-639 to the charge of driving while intoxicated, first offense. How do you plead, sir?
Guilty.
And is there an agreement for Mr. Duridia?
Yes, Your Honor. The paper I sent you says 1 year, but it is for 6 months probated for 1 year, $700 fine, court costs, 80 hours of community service, DWI intervention, Victim Impact Panel, CatSnip, Smart Start Mobile for half the term, and $60 to DPS for the lab.
And Mr. Locke, is that your understanding of the agreement?
It is, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Deridia, cause 668-639, the court accepts your plea of guilty to the offense of driving while intoxicated. First offense, I find you guilty. I assess 6 months in the Bear County Jail, probated for 1 year. A $700 fine plus court cost, 80 hours community service, DWI intervention, DWI Victim Impact Panel, Community Alliance for Traffic Safety New Intervention Program, Smart Start Mobile Home Interlock at 4 blows a day for 6 months, which is 1/2 the term, and reimbursement of $60 to Texas Department of Public Safety for a lab fee. Anything further from the state of the defense on Mr. Deridia?
Nothing from the state.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
Y'all are dismissed. Thank you very much.
Judge, Mr. Deridia did have a scram device that had been put on pretrial. He can go to pretrial and get that removed.
Basically, he needs to get active on a Smart Start Mobile at 4 blows a day. And as soon as he's active on that device, he can turn in the scram device. Fair enough?
I believe that he is active on that at this
All
point.
right.
Is that true?
What's going on with that?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm on the Smart Start Mobile already.
Okay. And you still have the scram device with you?
Yes, sir. It's on my.
All right. Then you can turn that in. You got to make Susan, go ahead.
Judge, you'll have to send the order to pretrial and they will have to do the removal order.
Won't be able to do it until what?
Probably tomorrow or the next day.
Or, yeah.
It is Thursday.
Well, it'll either be tomorrow or Monday. Sorry.
Yep.
Maybe we
I
can put him on
can't do
3
it
blows
because
today.
it's not a probation matter.
Okay. I'll send in the order. And Shannon, you guys need to stay on top of that because they're not the most efficient people I've ever met.
I understand, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck, Mr. Deridia. Thank you, Mr. Locke. Y'all are out of here.
Thank you, sir.
What else we got?
Judge, Mr. Rosales we're waiting for Mr. Sawyer. I just emailed his office to find out how much longer. Mr. Muniz was able to come back. I don't know if he was able to get a hold of Mr. Bravanek. I did give him his email address and I don't know. Mr. Muniz, were you able to get in contact with Mr. Bravanek?
I was not. His secretary answered and said that he was in another Zoom. I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay.
But
All right, let's take a break. I think I have cell numbers on Mr. Bravanek and on Mr. Sawyer. Let me text them and see if we can find out where they are.
Right, and I have sent the paperwork to Mr. Bravanek because they have not done the paperwork, so he does have it. And so we just need the
All
paperwork.
right, everybody just stand by. Be right back.
okay, thank you.
And Pat, don't worry about that date. I got it resolved.
Thank you. Eddie, thank you for getting those, letting me know what's going on with those, no information.
Yes, ma'am. I got them here, so they'll be going in.